So these are just some of the pictures that I've shot over the years with my iPhone. I am absolutely obsessed with trying to get the best image quality from my iPhone. If I'm not carrying around a professional camera, I want to see if my iPhone can take pictures as close as possible to a professional camera. And that's what I always try to achieve with my iPhone. My aim is always to make iPhone pictures just look more natural. I'm not a huge fan of the processing that Apple do with their iPhones. Now, I completely get it. Some people like it, some people think it looks great, and that's fine. But I want to try and make my pictures look cleaner, more professional, more like they look like something that's come out of a mirrorless camera, a professional camera. Now that Apple have released the iPhone 17 Pro and they've also released iOS 26, there are a few changes, a few key things to keep in mind. Before we get into it, I do recommend having a recent Pro model iPhone, something like the 14 Pro, 15 Pro, 16 Pro, 17 Pro, mainly because those phones have the Pro RAW functionality, which we'll be using quite a lot. By the way, if you want to learn a lot more about the iPhone, how to get the most out of the iPhone, camera settings, and all the presets that we have, make sure to check out iPhoneCreatorKit.com, and anyone who purchases will automatically be entered into a draw to win a brand new iPhone 17 Pro and some other prizes. So make sure to check that out. This video will basically be two parts. The camera app on the iPhone, how to set it up, the settings and stuff like that. And then the second part is the editing process, which I think is just as important as the settings themselves. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into our settings. So settings here, and then we're going to go look for our camera. And then in here, we need to adjust some of the settings in here to basically get the best image quality. Camera control, I've kind of just left it as it is. You can look at the settings here. Pause it if you need to. Yeah, please actually pause as much as you like throughout the video and rewind so that you can take it all in. When we go back to the camera settings, photographic styles. So this is something that some people like, some people enjoy using. I personally don't like using it, so I just leave it on standard. I don't like messing around with the photographic styles. I don't think they're that important for what we're going to be doing later on in the video. Record video. So this is where things have actually changed quite a bit for me. I've started recording 4K at 60 frames per second. I used to record 4K at 24 frames per second or 30 frames per second, but now I've changed to 60 frames per second. I've just found that when I'm shooting stuff for like TikTok and Instagram and stuff, I've found that 60 frames per second looks good. However, it doesn't look cinematic. So movies and TV shows that you watch will mainly be 24 frames per second. So if you want that cinematic look, that more sort of movie-like look, try using the 4K at 24 frames per second. If we scroll down, I have show power formats disabled, enhanced stabilization on. You definitely want that on so that when you are recording video, it just is a lot more stabilized. As we scroll down, I also have HDR video now enabled. I used to be one of those people that used to hate HDR video. I used to not recommend it in the past, but with how good HDR video has gotten, especially for Instagram and TikTok, when you're uploading content on platforms like that, HDR video can look so good. It just adds another dimension to your videos. Auto FPS off, lock camera off, lock white balance off. And then if we go back, we go to some other settings. Record slow-mo, I leave it as it is. Record cinematic, record sound. When it comes to record sound, this is purely down to personal preference. I leave it on mono. Some people like spatial audio, some people like stereo. Use whatever you like here. I don't think there is a right or wrong way to use it here. Unless you're making movies and stuff, then you probably want stereo. But even then, if you're recording video with your iPhone professional video, you're probably using a professional microphone. When we go back, formats. So formats, this is where we're going to look at probably the most important settings to get the best image quality. So camera capture, I have it on high efficiency. Photo mode, you can put it on 24 megapixels, but these two settings here are the most important. We want Pro RAW and resolution control. You want to make sure that is ticked. And then when we go to Pro RAW format, you want to have JPEG XL lossy. So that will give you the most compressed image format so that you don't take up so much storage space on your phone when you're shooting Pro RAW images. Because Pro RAW images, of course, they're shooting at 48 megapixels. So you're going to get all of that data, all of that information that you need for a Pro RAW image. And with these formats, you can drastically reduce the image size down. So definitely choose the last option. It doesn't make any difference to the image quality or anything like that. Just make sure to choose this to save storage space on your phone. As we scroll down, video capture, Apple ProRes, I feel like this is down to personal preference again. I just had the option enabled so that if I do want to shoot ProRes, I can, because you can actually toggle it in the camera app. If we go back, preserve settings. So I like to preserve a lot of my settings here. So you can pause here to have a quick look. But yeah, I want to be able to go back to the camera app whenever I want and know that my settings remain the way I left them, because that's usually the way I want to shoot. So yeah, everything here apart from photographic styles and action mode is enabled. I like to keep everything enabled pretty much. If we go back, volume up for burst. So that's not something I use that much, to be honest with you. So you can leave this on or off. Scan QR code, you definitely want that, of course. Show detected text, so that's quite a useful feature, but not something I use my iPhone for that much. Composition, so you definitely want to enable grid and you want to enable level. These two features will enable you to compose your image and make sure that the level feature alone is amazing, making sure that the horizon is straight, making sure that your camera is straight, whatever. It's just such a useful feature. Mirror front camera, I have disabled. View outside the frame. This is usually enabled by default, but I have it turned off because I find it distracting. I actually just prefer seeing what I'm actually shooting rather than seeing everything outside of the frame. Indicators, I have the flash, live photo, action mode, and dual capture. I like to be able to see all the indicators. You can clean up the interface by disabling these, but it's nice to have them because then I know I can change them on the fly and they're easily accessible. And then if we go back, Fusion camera, I usually have all of this enabled, but I have the default lens as the 24mm because that is the widest and will give you the highest resolution. But you can change these very easily in the camera app, which I'll show you later on. If we go back, scroll down, portraits in photo mode, prioritize faster shooting, lens correction, macro control, lens cleaning hints, save photo captures library, have all of these enabled. And that's pretty much it. That is the camera settings. Please do pause, rewind, maybe slow down the video, whatever works for you to get all the information, because I've gone through it quick so that we're not here forever. And now let's go into our camera app. So this is what I usually have set up when I want to take a picture, but I'm not too fussed about editing it afterwards. I like to have my pictures a bit darker looking. So what I've done is you can probably see that EV indicator at the top left there. I've put the EV indicator at 0.7, minus 0.7. That does make the images a bit darker, but it gives me that sort of moody, dark aesthetic that I'm looking for. Usually it's on 0, so we can swipe it back to 0. This is what it's usually at. Oh, sorry, there we go. That's what it's usually at, but we can put it down to 0.7, 0.1, whatever you think looks good, basically. And then we see obviously all these other options, right? We have the RAW option up here. You can see I'm shooting in RAW at 48 megapixels, which is what you want. That will give you the highest quality images. You can go back to HEIC and 12 megapixels if you're not too fussed about editing the pictures later on. And then you can also save storage space. But if you want the highest quality images, you definitely want to make sure these two options are enabled. Let's go back. And then we have a bunch of other options here. Exposure, night mode stuff, aspect ratio. I kind of just leave all of this as is, apart from the exposure, which I just showed you guys. And then macro mode. So macro mode I usually have disabled because what I found is that obviously macro mode goes to the wide angle lens. And the wide angle lens, the sensor in the wide angle lens is smaller than the main camera. So what I try to do is I try to stick to the main 1x camera as much as possible when taking pictures, because that gives you the main sensor, which is much larger than all the others, gives you the full 48 megapixels. I mean, all of the cameras are now 48 megapixels on the 17 Pro. So the resolution doesn't matter as much. It's just the sensor size. Because generally, the bigger the sensor, the better quality images you get. You also get better depth of field, so you get better background separation from whatever you're shooting. Maybe you're shooting something in your hand, you get better background separation. I've just found that shooting with the main camera usually gets me better quality images. Now, of course, you can use the 4x, the 8x if you want those zoomed in shots. But when it comes to the 4x and the 8x, I usually try to use them in bright light, trying to get as much light as I possibly can, because they're not that great for sort of dark shots, dark scenarios. So try and use those in bright light as much as possible. And that's pretty much it for the camera settings. Now let's go into editing the photos, because the whole point of shooting RAW is so that you can edit them to make them look even better. So we're going to use Lightroom here. Lightroom is my current photo editing app of choice, mainly because I can sync it with my MacBook, so I can have all of my photos somewhere. And it also backs up all of my photos because they have a cloud storage system, which is great. It's very, very useful just to be able to have all of my pictures in one place. So yeah, all of these pictures here are shot on an iPhone. So I just have one of my watches, my car, when I was eating out in Paris, another shot of Paris, on the seaplane in the Maldives, and then another shot of my car. So I'm just going to show you quickly some edits. This is a Pro Raw image that I've shot on the iPhone, and then I've imported it into Lightroom. And what I usually do is I usually apply a preset. So presets and stuff you can actually get for free. You can get tons of presets online, but I'm using my own presets here, which is part of the iPhone Creator Kit. I'll leave a link to them down in the description below. But you're definitely not required to purchase them. Don't feel like you have to buy them. But if you're looking for the same look that I have, if you're looking for just to make the whole process easier, yeah, check out my ones. They just make it much, much easier. So yeah, we have my iPhone presets here. We have a bunch. We have like dark aesthetic, film emulation and stuff like that. But I know which one I'm already going to go for with this picture, and it's probably going to be this preset here. Yeah, I think it's going to be that one. And then what I usually do is I just make some very minor adjustments to the exposure, contrast, highlight, shadows. So the presets usually do all of the coloring for me, and then I just make adjustments to the brightness of the images. So I'll bring up the exposure because I find it a bit too dark. And that is pretty much it. Like, I already like the look of that. So that's the before image, and that's the after. Just makes a huge difference to the image there. I might even remove some color from this image because I think it's maybe a bit too colorful. Bring down the highlights a tad. Maybe even, actually we'll keep the contrast like so. So yeah, I like the look of this. I think it already looks really good. Let's go to the next image. Let's apply a preset very, very quickly. So let's go through some of my presets. I think I already know which preset I'm going to use for this one. Maybe this one here. No. Let's go through some of these. You know what? I think I might like this one here. And then what I don't like about this image is that I find it a bit too brown, a bit too orange. So I'm actually going to bring down the color temperature like so, just to make it a bit more neutral looking. Bring down the highlights are already down, shadows are down. Let's bring down the shadows. And there we are. I already like the look of that. I think that looks awesome. That's the before, and that's the after. Just a huge difference to the image. Makes a huge difference. Let's look at another image here. Let's look at the Paris one. Apply a preset. Let's have a look at what we like the look of. I have so many presets here, but it's nice to have the choice. Oh, that looks good. Quite like the look of that. I also like the look of these. These look pretty good. Oh, I think that's the one. Oh wait, let's do 21. Yeah, 21 I think looks good. I do like the look of this. Let's up the exposure a little bit, like so. Everything else, very happy with. So that's the after, well, this is the before image, this is the after image. Before, after. And you can see with my presets, with my edits, I'm not looking to really change, well, I mean, some of them I guess I am really changing the look of the image, but some of them are also really subtle, like this one. Very subtle changes where the food just looks better, the greenery looks better, the image just looks brighter. Just makes a big difference. That's what I love about these presets. They kind of just make the colors pop or not pop depending on the type of image. Here we have another one of Paris. Let's go through some of these presets here. That's maybe a bit too strong. I like this one, I think. Yes, I think this one looks awesome. So this is the before, this is the after. We could also adjust the exposure a little bit, maybe bring in the contrast a tad. Very, very simple, quick and easy edit. So this is the before, this is the after, before, after. Let's do this Maldives one. This is one of my favorite shots that I took. And it's crazy how much of a difference a preset can make, because I actually think that this image here doesn't do justice as to how colorful the Maldives is. So we're going to apply a preset. Go through some of my presets here. Yeah, that already looks wicked. Okay, that looks amazing. That looks great. Let's bring up the exposure a tad. We might even bring up the saturation a little bit. Not too much. Not too much. There we go. And this is the before and this is the after. Like, just a huge difference. Huge difference. I might actually add some. So if we go to effects, we have some grain on the image, but I might also add a dehazing. Not too much. There we go. That honestly makes such a difference. Huge difference to the image. Like, completely transformed the image. Like, it's just massive. Makes the images look so much better. And then we'll do one final one. Presets. I might go for a dark aesthetic here. You know what? I quite like the look of this one. Bring up the exposure a tad. Oh wait, that's the texture. Sorry, that's the wrong one. Double tap to get rid of that. Let's bring up the exposure. There we go. I might also make it a bit bluer, like so. I also don't like the composition of this picture. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to zoom in. I'm going to zoom in to make the car. And you can see what I'm doing is I'm actually aligning the car with the bottom line of the grid, like so. And I think that looks much better. So before, after. Look how much more contrast that adds. How much better that looks. Yeah, amazing. Really happy with that. And those are just some of the ways that I edit the pictures to get them looking the way I like, to make the most of Pro Raw and what the iPhone can do. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to check out iPhone Creator Kit if you want to get all the presets and stuff, all the settings, and just learn a bit more about the iPhone, get the most out of the iPhone, and potentially win an iPhone 17 Pro. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter and subscribe for more.